What do you guys want to talk about? Real quick before we get the party started, something you're going to want to know. This video is brought to you by MCal. Visit mcal.ca/SDPN. If you have a business, you have IT issues. That's what MCal's for. They'll take care of them for you. Security, backup requirements, stuff you need for work from home. Do you know how to fix those things? No, that's where MCal comes in. Maybe you have a big business, a small business, a business that makes up decisions on a whim. Not naming names. Whatever the size, MCal can take care of your IT services for you. Time is money, and you typically get your support request done in less than an hour. And it's Canadian. We like Canadian. MCal's Canadian. Vendor neutral, so they're not going to try to upsell you on everything. They don't get between you and your main vendor, so you maintain control. Which helps you plan your budget, so you're not sitting there like, is it 3 games? Is it 5? Is it 8? Did I say games? Moving on. Shut up, Steve. What's in it for me? Good point. What's in it for you is an extra free month of IT services. In most cases, they'll start taking care of you the day you sign up. You need to go to mcal.ca, and then you need to use the promo code DANGLE. That was a little loud. DANGLE. Is that helpful? Was that better? mcal.ca/SDPN. They'll make you happy. Now, let's get mad! I'm sitting here as they're about to drop the puck in the Leafs-Blues game where the Leafs won't have Morgan Rielly, they won't have John Tavares or Mitch Marner either. They're not suspended yet. They are just sick. But George Parros and the Department of Player Safety have announced that Morgan Rielly has been suspended for 5 games. Notice how I didn't say because of the whole slapshot cross-check thing with Ridley Grigg, because you already knew that. Here's the official release from the NHL's Department of Player Safety. This right here is the official release from the NHL's Department of Player Safety, and you're trying to do the math right now. Morgan Rielly makes $7.5 million. He's about to miss 5 games. How much is he about to lose from the suspension? $195,312.50 American. For the Canadians watching this, that is $265,000 plus $9.77. So, what do I think of this suspension? Now, it's funny, and I almost wonder if this was done on purpose. Morgan Rielly was offered an in-person hearing that was canceled because of the huge snowstorm that's about to hit New York, but he was going to go. He gets a video call instead, which counts as an in-person hearing, and it ends up being 5 games. The whole point of an in-person hearing is you can hand out a suspension of more than 5 games, so 6 games or more. So we're all thinking, wait a minute, it's going to be 6 games or more. The longest suspension so far this season was David Perron for cross-checking, I think it was Artem Zub, right in the face, even though he wasn't the guy that he meant to go after, and he got 6 games. If Morgan Rielly were to have gotten 6 games, it would have meant he was tied for the longest suspension this season, and if he got more, it would have been the longest suspension of the season for a guy who was probably going to be in the Lady Bing conversation up until this past week. Here's the thing. The Department of Player Safety has done an excellent job at making sure with every decision, no matter what the decision is, everyone's unhappy. Absolutely everybody. And I don't want anyone to lose sight of that, because am I honestly that upset with 5 games? Not really, especially because we thought it was going to be more than that. They've made it impossible. Steve, don't you think someone who cross-checks an opponent in the face deserves at least 5 games, especially when it's with 6 seconds left in an already over with game? There you fell for it. You fell for it. It's not about that. Leaf fans over the last few days have been pointing out, what about this? What about this? What about this? Over the last few days, Leafs fans have been pointing out, what about when Joel Edmondson cross-checked Wayne Simmons in the face during the Leafs-Habs playoff series and he wasn't suspended, it was just a fine? What about when Alex Chiasson, you might have forgotten about this, during the Canada Bubble series, cross-checked Jimmy Vesey right in the head after the final horn of the game? The game's done. He might as well just be walking the street. Would it be okay if he cross-checked him walking the street? It's after the game, cross-checks him, 1 game suspension. 1 game. And it's not even limited to Leaf incidences. There was Blake Lizotte going right at Josh Morrissey. Blake Lizotte's on the Kings. Josh Morrissey is on the Jets. Gets him right in the head, and he doesn't get anywhere near 5 games. Now, you'll notice all the times that I said, what about? And I've seen many non-Leaf fans calling that whataboutism. Whataboutism is a handy word that I highly recommend, but it is also a severely abused and misused word, because I think a lot of people are confusing precedent for whataboutism. Now, obviously, the NHL Department of Player Safety is not a court of law, but it's like stealing a candy bar from a store and then life in prison. But Your Honor, the typical sentence for stealing a candy bar is community service. Oh, what's with all this whataboutism? The NHL's Department of Player Safety looks at other incidents that have happened in recent memory, and they looked at the decision that they made at the time, and they go, okay, the precedent is a fine, or 1 game, or 2 games, or 5 games, or whatever it may be. So it's not whataboutism to say, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? Even though you are literally using the words what about, it's simply precedent. And if you have a problem with that, take it up with George. I don't know. Doesn't that strike you as the way they should be doing things? If there's a head hit, if someone hits someone in the head and you give them, I don't know, 2 games, the next time someone does that, you can go, oh, well, we gave that guy 2 games, so you get 2 games. That's how it should work. Well, Steve, Morgan Rielly charged at a player with 6 seconds left and cross-checked him in the face. Don't you think he should be getting 5 games? I'll be honest, yeah, I do. That makes sense. And I tell you what, the Jason Spezza suspension that he got a few years ago, I think it was in the 21-22 season in a heated game with the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, he went out there with ill intent on his mind, and he gave an injury, I believe it was a concussion, to Neil Pionk. He was originally given 6 games that was later reduced to 4. Do I think that intentionally going out and injuring a player or getting your pound of flesh for a player should be 4 to 6 games? Yes. The problem I have with it is it almost never is. Because while the NHL's Department of Player Safety does rely on precedent, it also spits directly in the face of precedent all the time. Listen, should really Greg have done what he did with the slap shot in the net? I mean, it's not smart. He's definitely allowed. It's within the rules. He's not facing any punishment from the league. Is it jerk behavior? Sure, but you're allowed to act like a jerk. We also know that in hockey, it's unreasonable to expect the Leafs to do nothing in that scenario. Here are the people that you can dismiss immediately when it comes to this. Oh, the little babies couldn't take that he put the slap shot in the... They've just never, ever watched hockey, ever. Like, you're making up a fantasy sport that has never existed. Do you understand? Someone does that, someone shows up the other team when the game is already over, and you expect them to do nothing? I understand why you expect them to do nothing, but that's a fairy tale. That never happened. That does not happen in this sport. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're getting at. I understand the want for clicks, I suppose, but it's just made up. It's made up. Should it be that way? Well, that's a great question for another time, but until then, it's been that way for over 100 years. I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect Morgan Rielly to do something. However, you can't do what he did. Did he mean to do what he did the way he did it? Did he mean to get him right in the face? I don't think it should matter. Here's another part of this conversation. Morgan Rielly, when he connected, it wasn't flush with the face. It was like sort of off the shoulder. That's a big part of this discussion. This is a Leaf fan talking again. Remember, I don't think that should matter. I've never understood that when it comes to cross checks to the face, and we've seen it across this league with many teams. Someone will deck a guy right in the face, and you go, oh, well, you can't do that, and you throw the book at them. But then someone will cross-check someone in the shoulder, and it'll ride up the equipment and then hit them in the face. And and we pat them on the head, and we go, you're a precious little angel, though, and we know you would never actually try to hurt a fly. What are we doing? Shoulder pads are round! Learn things! Dude, when you trip a guy, they don't care if you meant to do it. If you high stick a guy, they don't care if you meant to do it. And Jacob Trouba, that one's wild from earlier this season, where he slashes, just tries to behead Trent Frederick, and it's because he didn't mean to do it, it's just a fine? And this is what it comes back to. Steve, don't you think Morgan Rielly should get 5 games? Well, I think that sort of thing should get 5 games. I'm upset that it's 5 games because it never does. ever, not even sort of, kind of consistently. This is the biggest problem with the Department of Player Safety. Precedent matters, except when it doesn't. The fact that a player was injured on the play matters, except for when it doesn't. Nick Cousins should have been suspended twice this season. Hasn't been once. And I know a lot of people have been yelling and screaming, well, it doesn't matter that Ridley Gregg is fine, it's the act. Except it's not! They take into account that there's an injury on the play! It's one of the main headers that they put in every video they do for these types of suspensions. So, should you be allowed? Should the NHL try to remove plays from the game where a player is attacked in the final 10 seconds of the game? Yes. Of course they should try to take those plays out. Yes. Except they're not going to. This happens all the time. And to expect this Rielly versus Gregg incident to be some line in the sand and no longer will the NHL tolerate that, it's just made up. It's just made up. Have you ever watched a playoff game in your entire lives? It doesn't have to be something as egregious as what Rielly did or Mark Scheifele with Jake Evans, where a player on the losing team goes, oh, I think I'm going to try to kill you now. NHL players simply beat the crap out of each other. They'll drop their glove. They'll glove on. You know what? What am I going to dirty my knuckles up for? I'm going to keep this nice soft glove on, and I'm just going to kind of punch you until your brain slaps against all sides of the casing of the inside of your skull, and it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to do that in game 1 of this series, and I'm going to show right back up in game 2 like nothing happened. You might be a little worse for wear, but George and the NHL are going to protect me. Because they do! So, for me, 5 games for Rielly sounds right. Sounds fine, as long as that's the standard going forward, and we all know it's not. The reason so many Leaf fans, and I really, so many people have been so gross over the last few days. The reason so many Leaf fans have been outward in saying that the league, or at very least the Department of Player Safety and George Parros, have it out for the team is they have no faith in them. I think a lot of people that I spoke to, diehard Leaf fans, are like, Rielly should have done something, but he shouldn't have done that, would agree that 5 games for a play like that makes sense. But is the NHL going to call this consistently going forward? Are they going to try to calm things down at the end of and after games? Of course they're not. There's absolutely no reason to expect the NHL to maintain their standard, because they never do. Ever. And I can't wait until probably less than a week from now, someone does something twice as heinous as what Rielly did, and they get fined. So, what do you think of this suspension? Leave a comment in the comment box down below. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Brand new LFR tonight. I don't usually get to say that. Brand new Steve Dangle podcast tomorrow, and mcal.ca/SDPN. Promo code DANGLE for your IT needs, you silly geese.